Hello. Today I'm going to walk you through the steps of making the foundation for this awesome hibiscus with these beautiful little wrinkly edges. And then we're going to go on and put in all the details. And at the end, you're going to end up with a pretty nice looking flower. I've created a lot of different layers. I'm going to show you the basic foundation on my iPad so I can switch layers, and then we'll work on paper. So this is the size of paper I'm working on. You can work on any size, but mine's like just a half sheet of regular size paper. So this is the flower that we're going to make, and since I'm working in Procreate so I can demonstrate a few different things, I'm going to make it a little bit lighter. And then we're going to add the first section we're going to do. So I'll show you that, and then we'll work here. All right. Let's see. All right. So the first thing that I want you to do is take your paper, turn it just a tiny bit, because we're going to make a star in the very center of the paper. Excuse me. We're going to make a star, and that's going to help us separate these petals into 5 sections. For me, very difficult to just make something into 5. It's easier to do an even number of sections for me. Oh, pay no attention to the red lines for now. So this is what we're going to be drawing. And you're going to be kind of in the very middle of your paper, but then shift your paper a little to the side. And I'll zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. But remember, this is going to be, in relation to our paper, this is going to be pretty small. But we are just going to kind of put, let's go back here. We're going to put a dot in the center of our paper. So that's the very middle. And then we're going to shift our paper around a little bit and just make a 5-pointed star. And it's very small. We're going to get rid of this. This is just going to help us divide our paper. Wow. It's going to help us divide our paper into 5 parts. So you can do this very lightly in pencil. And the next thing we'll do is add some lines to help us split this into 5 sections. So at the point of each star, imagine you're drawing a line from the center of the star out. Same here, we're going to go from the center through the point and out. From the center to the point and out. Center to the point and out. And remember, these lines will all be erased later, so you can make them very, very light. All right. So let's get rid of these layers. And then you can just draw kind of a big circle. This is going to be at the center of it, so you just want like a nice big circle. And that's going to help us know how far out to go on each petal. Then we're going to add our basic floral architecture. So this line that goes this way is kind of, let's see, it's where our center, like the big stalk in the middle of the flower is going to go. Up about halfway on this line, let's do an oval. It's kind of an oval, kind of a circle. And then inside of it, we'll do a smaller one. And then we will take and just kind of make our little stalk. Now you can make it curve this way or this way. I think I'm going to make mine curve this way, but it's going to come and it's going to meet that center of the star. So this is your stalk. And then along all 5 of these lines, we'll just draw our petal shape. And this is our pencil architecture of the petal shape. So it doesn't have to be wavy or anything like that, but let's just kind of come out, then around and down. So you're going to go from point of the star, up and around and back down to the next point. And these petals can overlap later, but we don't need to worry about that right now. So we're kind of just adding the shape. And we'll add that shape. So this is what we've got now. And if we want to, we can sketch in kind of where maybe some leaves will go. So maybe we'll have like a leaf that goes off the page there. A leaf that goes off the page here, and then another one here. And that is our basic architecture of the flower. And when we get through, excuse me, when we get through, our flower is kind of going to look like this. So I'm going to show you using this basic architecture how we make our flower look like this. So now that we've got that all done, we've got our architecture down. When I did the architecture layer, I made the stalk a little bit bigger because I thought, no, it's too small in that one. Oh, but now we can get rid of the iPad and we can start adding our marker lines on the paper version. All right. I'll be back for that in just a moment. All right, I went straight in with marker and messed up on this one. Haha! So this gives me an opportunity to quickly redraw it and kind of show you what I did, but on paper. So here's my tiny star. I'm turning back, and then I'll go point out, out to that point, out to that point, from the dot out to this point. You can see I'm staying really, really light with these lines. The reason I like to do it on the iPad is because it's much easier for you to see than when I'm working in these very, very light lines on my paper. So if you can't see this, that is the reason I do it the other way. All right, so there's our 5 sections. And then I'll kind of draw, I want my circle to be pretty much as big as my paper will allow it to be. So it needs to be a little bit smaller than that. So I'm just kind of going to keep going around until I determine the size that circle needs to be. Then we'll add the stalk. So the stalk is going to start right at the middle of this star. And mine's going to go up and kind of curve. We don't have to be precise with this because we'll go in with our pen in a little bit and do it the way we really want. And then I want a large oval or circle. So a big one. And then kind of a smaller one in there. And then we'll add the petal shapes. So I'm going to start with one where I can see the whole petal. So I'll start with this one. So the basic petal shape is going to be here, 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 and here. So, and then we can add in leaves, which will be kind of up here We really can put leaves anywhere. The leaf placement is the kind of the last little thing that we really need to do. All right, so we're ready to jump in and start in our marker. All right, so I'm going to be working in a fine line black marker. I'm using one that I know is pigment ink, which is permanent and it's waterproof and marker proof. If you plan to paint yours later, you definitely want to make sure, let me zoom in here, you definitely want to make sure if you're going to paint it later that you're using something that won't melt into the watercolors. You want a permanent ink. All right, so we're going to start with this very center, and in that middle oval we're going to draw 5 circles that are a little bit large. So let's go like 1, 2, 3, 4, and I can't fit my other one in there, so it's all right. I'll just keep adding it, but it's nearby. So these are the large center pieces of our flower, and I'm kind of just gonna connect them all to this little one here. So they're all gonna be connected like that. So we just have 5 circles and they're all connected by a line. Easy peasy, right? Okay, now we're gonna work with that bigger circle that we did, and I'm gonna just make a lot of smaller dots kind of all around it. So just a little bit smaller and all around it. They don't all have to be exactly the same size. We're going to pretend like that circle we drew is a wreath, and we are just putting little circles all over it. You can turn your paper as much as you want, whatever is helpful to you. And I'm just going to keep adding my little circles here. And they can be kind of behind and around the bigger ones that you did. So just have some fun. Draw a lot of little circles here. This is the middle part of that flower that is just cute with a lot of dots on it. This is the part the butterflies and the bees like. All right, so I'm just gonna add as many as I want. They're a good time, they're cute. And then we're gonna add little stalks to these. So let's see if I can zoom in. Extreme close up so you can really see. But we're gonna pretend where these all kind of meet, that also these all meet. So we're gonna add, for each of them, they're gonna have a little stalk that comes to the center. And the ones on the outside, we're gonna skip over. Like this one has a stalk, but it's going behind that one. So we're just gonna skip over. Same with that one. So you'll start having all these little lines that radiate out from the center and have those little circles on top. And you can rotate your paper or you can move your hand. For me, it is always easier to rotate my paper. That is the way I like to do it. So we just want a lot of little lines going to the center in a radiating pattern. So think about if you were drawing the little rays of the sun and how those would all connect. And we might need to go in a moment and make the lines connecting these 5 a little bit darker, but we'll see how it looks as we move along. We just want these to be kind of as though they're meeting in the center behind these all. I'm kind of using the side of my marker and it's making the line a little bit thinner. So I'm liking that. That's working well for me. And if you are doing this and you think, hey, I need another little circle, you just can add it and give it its little stalk that connects to the middle. There we go. So there's the center of our flower, and I'll zoom back out. And then we can turn it the right way. So now we've got that part of the center done, and we can add the stalk. So we don't really need to know what's happening behind all these things with the stalk, but let's start at the bottom, and we're going to come right to where that center dot is that we made and just make 2 curved lines that end on the sides of it. And then when we connect them at the bottom, let's curve just a little bit. And then we can add some little lines on the side that just when we look at it, it helps our eye see that this thing is round. And these are just little light, simple, easy strokes. All right, kind of like if you were drawing a carrot, the lines that you might put on a carrot. So that's the center. And then we'll start moving on to the big part of the flower. What's going to be fun about this is we have some guidelines, but we don't have to follow them exactly. I'm going to start with this largest petal down here. This hibiscus that I draw is going to be very floppity, very wavy edged. So the edge is kind of going to come out, the edge here, okay, so the edge is going to be very round at the edge. So I'm going to add, I'm just going to start here, and I'm going to go make this very, very ruffly. So there's that edge. That's my super ruffle edge. And then we can start at the stalk and we'll come in just a little bit, but this is going to be ruffly and meet up with that one. And then we'll come over here and kind of pay a little bit of attention to the lines that we drew. And that one will be there. So that is our first petal. We did it. Great job. Now let's work on this one. So I'm gonna go up and down and then make this fabulous ruffly business like that. And then I'll just meet that one at the back. Next one, kind of the same deal. So I'm going to come up from here. I'm going to make some ruffly lines. And then I'll start kind of back here and make some ruffledy lines. They can be very irregular. I know that they look kind of funny, but we'll fix it. It'll look better once we get all the lines and the extra details in. All right, and I maybe could have overlapped that a little more, but we can fix that here in a bit. All right, and these two, I'm going to turn my paper. So these two, let's see. This line goes right behind that flower, so we don't really see where this one starts, but I'm just going to come and make my very curvy, floofy line that meets in the middle there. And then one more. And let's see. This one, I'm going to kind of come down and around, and then it'll go behind that petal, and it'll come up and end there. So it looks a little, there's a lot going on, I know, right now. That's all right. The next step, we can come in and put the areas where our flower might be a little folded over. Excuse me. And I'm going to start here at the top because I want this to look like it's overlapping. So I'm going to go ahead and this is just the foldy part of this petal. And the way I do those is I just pick a point and I kind of add another line, and that's where that little petal is a little bit foldy, a little bit ruffly. And these sections can be big or they can be smaller. So we can do a few on some other petals. Let's do one over here because there's a big space here that I need to fill. And if you don't want any folded over parts, you don't have to have them. I'm just adding a few. I think they're very pretty. I like the way it looks when it's ruffly. So this one can be at the edge. And let's see, let's put one here too. And then maybe over on the edge. And I'll add a little tiny one here. And then, let's see, where do we want one here? Let's work here. You can choose wherever you put them. It doesn't matter where you put them. And then I'll have one here. Maybe, let's see. Not gonna mess with it there. And then I got my last petal, so let's add just a little bit of ruffle here. And then maybe also over here. And then I'll give it a little bit of, let's see, what do we want? Not gonna mess with it. All right. So now we have our ruffly parts drawn, and we are ready to go ahead and start adding some contours. What this is gonna do is help our viewer understand that our petals are flowing. So how about if we start, let's start with a petal that we can see the whole petal. So let's start with this petal. And I'm gonna turn my paper because it's how I work. We're gonna start at the stalk and we're gonna kind of come up and do a few lines that go this way and kind of up into the center and up toward the center. And then as we get to the sides, we'll start going outward. So these just kind of go outward, and they're helping us understand that our flower is very curvy. So then we can come and we can bring some down from the top as well. So kind of like this. And these are going to maybe be the same, curvy in the same way. And we want a lot of these lines. And the magical thing is the more we make down here, the more dense those lines get. And so it makes the center of our flower look like it's got some depth. So I'm going to add a little bit of these little scratchy little lines here. And the side of my marker doesn't work as well as the tip of my marker, so it's getting kind of starting to look a little scratchy. I'll try to make those more bold so you can see them. But I'm just adding a few more just to make sure we really feel the curves and the way this petal is very delicate. And then between these sets of lines, you can add some little dots here and there. I don't know why that looks nice, but I do like the way it looks. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more black here to the bottom, just to this bottom part. And my friends, that's about it. So we're almost done. You can also do like a little, kind of a little dashed line. Let's do some from over here. All right, so there's that one petal. So this is the way my paper goes in real life, but I'm turning it because I like to work on up and down. That works best for me. All right, so this one, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna just start from the bottom and come up and curve. And again, our lines are going to be a little thicker here in the center. And then we will also have some coming down from the top. And you can come back and always add more coming from the bottom. And then we can put some of our little dots through the center. And you know, sometimes you're doing this, you're like, ah, I need another little line there. And that is fine. Just add it as you go. So we're just adding the shape for those petals. And I kind of try to make these uneven. Like some of them are longer, some of them are shorter. They're not really the same. So then we can move on to this next one. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see a little better. Oh, I feel a sneeze coming. There it is. All right, so let's get to drawing the lines on this one. So I'm going to kind of come up. Some of these are going to go sideways. Some of them are going to go straight up. And they do need to go behind our center. So let's just skip right over that and continue them on the other side. So there's some of those. Let's see, I'm going to make it a little darker here at the bottom. And then we'll do some coming down from the top. So there we go, and then I'll add some of those little tiny dots just throughout, because I can. So just little tiny, tiny dots. And we've got some very lovely contours happening on this flower. I like to go in and add some extras at the bottom just to make that center part of the flower very, very dark. All right, now we've got a couple more petals left. So we're going to do the same things here. And I'm kind of going to come out and make some of these go up and sideways. It's kind of fun. So up and sideways. And then we'll get more toward the center as we go toward the middle. And then these can start going a little bit that same up and sideways. And that's just going to give it that very floofy feeling. We really feel like these petals have just unfurled and they're very beautiful. Maybe one more here and here, and then we'll come in and put a few of these nice little dots. And I don't have as much. So I have this piece is a folded over piece, I think. I'm not sure. No, it's not. Sometimes these black lines can be very confusing. All right, that's better. So I just have one left. It's exciting. We're almost done with this part of the flower. All right, so I'm going to start by kind of doing more of these little lines that go up and out that way. And then as we get toward the center, they're a little straighter. And then darker right here at the center. All right, so now I need some more lines coming up the middle. And they kind of come up and curve out on some of these. And then we'll bring some down from the top. Wherever we feel we need some. I think I'm going to make this a little folded over edge. I like the way that looks. Okay, and then I will add some of my little dots throughout. So now we've drawn our hibiscus. Let me zoom out for you. So now we've drawn the flower part, and this is looking really, really great. So if you don't want leaves on your hibiscus, you don't have to add them. You definitely don't. But I'm going to add a few leaves because I like that background feel. And we sketched some leaves in, or I did. I don't know if you did, but I sketched some leaves in because hibiscus leaves are kind of wiggly on the edge. So now that I have this line, I can kind of do this, and I've already got my leaf shape in there, but I can add that line, and then they just have a center line, and then they have some little lines that go out. And I'm going to make these light because I'll come back later with paint or whatever I'm going to color it in with and add some fun color. So another one over here, and I'm just going to kind of follow my little line that I put there for myself and make them a little bit wiggly. And this one can go up that way. Put my light little leaf details there. And then I'll flip over to actually what's at the bottom of my paper. And I'll make a little wiggly edge for this leaf. You could throw a little bud in there if you want to. That'd be cute. There's that one. And then I've got one more leaf. You can put as many in here as you want, or you don't have to put very many, whatever you feel like doing. All right. Okie dokie. So, that's not a good angle at all, is it? Okay, so now we've got this all done. We are ready to erase our pencil line, but what I want to make sure is that the whole thing is dry. Like sometimes your ink can smear if you erase too quickly after you've drawn. So I'm going to wait just a moment for that ink to dry, and then I'll start erasing my pencil lines. And because I know that I'm going to do this in watercolor, I'm going to try not to touch the middle part of my paper too much. And I'm just going to go in and get rid of all that pencil. And I did the leaves last, so I know that they're going to be the most not dry. So I'm just going to concentrate on erasing the flower. And if you want to kind of not touch your paper, you can always put something on top of it and hold it down, like so. But I'm just going to get rid of all of these pencil lines so we don't see them anymore. It's not working very well, is it? But let's just get rid of all of our architecture so we're left with only the beautiful drawing of the flower that we did. I think that's most of the pencil. And then I like to just get a big paintbrush and kind of sweep it off, like with a little, like with a little broom. So let's get rid of all that eraser shrapnel. I'm gonna sweep it on down. And there you go. There's your hibiscus. You can sign it at this point if you want to. So I think I'm going to sign mine. I'll sign mine right here. You can sign it at this point, and then you are ready to color it in or paint it, whatever you'd like to do.